Hey everybody, this is Norm Mathers with Enigma Media. Today I'm joined by Snakehealer. How you doing?
Blessings from the void.
All right, well, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how the band got started?
Thank you, first of all, for having us. I appreciate the work that you do, and you as a person are very genuine. If I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So,
Oh, thank you,
with
man.
that,
Thank you.
with that set aside, Snake Healer is a coven of monks dedicated to the Serpent Lord. Most people may know the Serpent Lord as the snake in the Garden of Eden,
Okay.
the one that brought the knowledge to humanity. For us, he is our guiding light. Um, our job is only to sing his praises and to bring forth his message to the children of knowledge, which in our way of life is every single human being. Anyone that ever wishes to learn something, anyone that looks up a YouTube video to figure out anything, you seek knowledge. Therefore, you are a child of knowledge. You are a child of Serpentis Dominus, the serpent. As for the band itself, musically, we have just started as a group in November last year.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
we, re- we released our first track in January, then another in December, and so on and so forth. We released the EP in May. We're looking to do another single release for October. Um, and essentially, what we're trying to do is tell the story of our Lord. Before us, there have other musicians, obviously, throughout time. I mean, this is something that has existed since the beginning of mankind. People have sang the praises of Serpentis Dominus forever, and now it's our turn.
That's wicked. How did you come about like wanting to follow Serpentius Dominus?
Well, most of us are brought into this at birth. This is, um, I wouldn't say a cult, because a cult has a negative connotation to it. This is a coven, a group of people who wish to better the world.
Yeah, yeah.
This is something that has existed forever, from Cain and Abel to anyone who has used knowledge to better mankind. So most of us are brought into this. Some people are recruited. I myself was recruited at a young age,
Okay, okay.
and we live normal lives just like everyone. You know, I have a job, I have a family, and during my life, I was a musician. I played in punk rock bands and in stoner bands and in psychedelic doom and things like that. And everybody brings their skills to the table, and these are mine. And I hope that people can enjoy the things that I create with that. And so far, we've had a very, very good reception.
Fuck yeah. So what are some, if any, some bigger bands that follow the same coven?
Well, that's not really for us to say.
Ooh, fair
A
enough.
lot of that is considered to be sacred, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're at a point in our organization where our previous leader wasn't actually living up to what we needed for him to do. So I had to get rid of him. I had to retire him, and I took
Okay.
his place. And some of us within the coven think of me as a traitor. Some of us within the coven think of me as the next leader, the savior.
Ooh.
So we're having some issues. So we've decided to come out and be public because we feel that the lessons of our Lord, it's helpful to everyone. We don't think that it's something that should be kept a secret anymore. And essentially, the lessons are you are exactly who you need to be, whether you're at the bottom, the middle, or the top, whether you're a bad person or a good person. Because in
Okay.
order for you to become who you need to be exactly who you are right now. And we remove the shame that people have. Society is constantly telling you that you're not good enough, that you're not pretty enough. And we're here to tell you not that you are, but that there's nothing wrong with who you are,
Mm.
and that you should embrace every challenge put before you to better your life. Every horrible thing that happens to you, say thank you, because when you overcome it, you will become strong. That is the essence of what we teach.
Ooh, dude, I love that. That's some powerful shit.
Yes, that type of mindset changes the world, and that's what we're here to teach.
Hell yeah. Um, so what do you provide for Snakehealer? What's your role in the band?
Okay. Well, ever since we've had our, let's say, change of management, my job is to interpret the words of Serpentis Dominus, whether they come to me in a dream, in a vision, or however it may be. I need to accept this and bring it out in the world, whether it be a song lyric, a riff, a drum part, anything. And the music that we've put out so far, I've been the one that has created everything. I played all
Okay.
the instruments. I've done all the vocals, even the really, really high vocals were very difficult to do
Oh
for someone
shit.
like myself. I did every single thing. Only through the power of Serpentis Dominus was I able to achieve this.
Damn. Man, good
Yes.
for you. Holy cow.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully, it won't be that way forever, but that's the way that it is right now. So the other monks that are dedicated, they learn the songs and we perform them live. But there's some times where we have different monks for different shows, depending on who's not on a mission, who's not preaching, and who is available at that time.
Cool. I really like that.
Thank you.
So this isn't so much a band as it is the coven.
It's more of a movement.
Okay. Man, I like that, you know? I feel like people could really get behind it. And it's such a powerful message, like just trying to embrace your almost your shadow self, you know, and become one with yourself and just be unionized, right?
Absolutely. And it's also about challenging yourself because, the enemy of progress is comfort. And we
Mm,
try to help people understand that, yes, you are who you need to be, but that's not who you're going to be. And through our lessons, through suffering, through pain, through all the things that hurt us and break us down, we embrace those things. With growing pride, we wear our scars. I believe that's a line from AFI.
okay.
And that's something that we take into heart.
Sweet. I love it. I really do.
Thank you.
Okay. So, uh like how did you discover, I guess, like heavier music as you were growing up? What bands, what kind of influences did you first attach on to when you were just getting into, like, say, metal or hard rock or anything like that?
Great. That's a great question. Where I grew up, there wasn't really a lot of rock or metal.
Hmm.
It was mostly a lot of hip hop, things like that. I grew
Okay.
up mostly listening to a lot of Wu Tang Clan and things like that, and I really enjoyed the way the viciousness of their compositions. Their songs
Ooh.
were about slicing people in half and forbidden kung fu moves and things like that. I felt that their imagery and their intensity was beautiful. As I got older, I started to explore my own things. As a young boy, my father was a big fan of Kiss
Hmm.
and the Beatles and Led Zeppelin, and we would listen to cassettes, and I would make my little copies and take them in my Walkman as I would skateboard and things like that.
Yep, yep.
As I got older, I got into bands like the Melvins and Mastodon and High on Fire and The Sword, and I just really grew to appreciate, you know, those type of compositions where they're so brutal, but they're just tasty. It's awesome. Um,
Hmm.
and what's interesting is that I got into those bands first, and then I got into like Slayer and like Megadeth and like early Metallica. I kind of did it backwards, but it really helped me appreciate how that influence made these bands and how these bands influenced those bands. And then I got into older stuff like Black Sabbath and like Marmalade and like old stuff, and just to kind of get a taste of like the lineage of it.
Sweet. I
Yeah.
I was also, you know, backwards in the metal scene, but like you kind of was drawn to, like, darker sounding things and like minor focused music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um so, like, you know, I don't know if you've listened to much Sublime or anything like that, but
Yes, I have.
like
Mhm.
when I was young, Santeria, the beginning of Santeria, you know, they play these minor chords, and I always thought it sounded so dark. And then as soon as the music kicked in, it never made any sense to me when I was younger. I was
Right.
like, why don't they just keep riding these low vibes or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And then you know what, that spiraled into, you know, me trying to find some harder rock. I think I don't even know who I really got into first. You know, probably some Avenged Sevenfold, and then Kill Switch Engage, which would have led me to like Lamb of God and Slipknot and stuff like that. And then yeah, I was probably like, graduated from high school before I really started looking at like Metallica and Slayer and Megadeth and stuff like that.
Right. I mean, the classics are the classics for a reason, and
To-
they're great. The new Megadeth album is really cool. I've heard some of the singles. Obviously, I think it comes out on the 2nd of September, so I'm looking forward to that.
yeah, yeah.
But I like all kinds of stuff. I listen to anything, anything that's interesting. I have a friend of mine who likes this band called Scooter. It's like a German electro pop kind of. I don't really know how to explain it. And he'll just send me links, and I'll check it out, and it's a good time, man. Um, Going back to Sublime, when you mentioned Santeria, where I'm from, that's very prevalent here. I don't know if you're familiar with the religion of Santeria.
No, not at all.
Okay, so Santeria is like a mixture of Catholicism and like African religion. It's like a mixture. In Cuba, where it's very popular, prevalent, a lot of the people, the descendants are from Africa. They were slaves, and then the owners, which are the Spaniards, and now everybody's mixed together. 65% of Cuba is mixed race, and Santeria is a very, very, very strong part of the Cuban culture. So it has to do with worshiping saints, but with an African twist to it. And there's a lot of animal sacrifice and awesome parties. And I've been very lucky to be a part of that from my youth until now. It's
Damn.
very much part of who I am. Yeah,
Thank you so much for that. Holy cow. I had no idea that it was a religion or anything. I just
absolutely. Yeah.
ignorantly thought it was a great song name.
It's a very beautiful religion. People associate it with like dark magic and things like that because of the animal sacrifice. But a lot of religions still practice animal sacrifice. They used to sacrifice lambs and put the blood over the doors. It's just an old school thing. And the animals don't go to waste. They get prepared and everyone enjoys it.
Crazy. It's almost like a little bit of Norse mythology in there too, with the Vikings sacrificing
Very
fucking
good point.
animals
In
as
Norse
well.
mythology, Odin exists, and in Santeria, Odun exists, which is very associated with iron. So I'm
Okay.
sure there are links between that as well.
I've been listening to a bunch of Norse mythology in the last month or so, and
Awesome.
I I like I'm not religious by any means, but like I attribute a lot of the teachings and stuff to stuff that I've learned about Christianity in my adult years or whatever. Like I think all religions are just, trying to point you on a good path in life.
I think so. I agree with you. And the Norse stuff, is so old that I'm sure it has a lot of influence on modern religions like Christianity, like you mentioned, and Catholicism, and even Islam.
Yeah, like though I don't know. I sit in my vehicle for about 2 hours a day listening to podcasts and stuff like that or music, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, some motherfucker was a Christian, and they learned how to write, and they took all these cool stories of Odin and Thor and
Yeah,
Balder and all that, and they just found a way to spin it into Christianity, to like just like sop up the remaining bits of their teachings for maybe like the pagans who didn't want to follow like a monotheistic upbringing or whatever.
yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, I think that the stories of Christianity are the least original, but the best marketed,
Totally.
right?
Isn't that how it always works, even in
Hey,
music?
I mean, you can't hate the player.
Totally,
Uh,
right?
they're doing something right. These guys have control over most of the United States. Even places like Egypt, there's a lot of Christians.
Fair
Egypt,
enough.
which
Wow.
is like Egypt. I mean, the cradle of like civilization. In Iraq, in Africa, there's Christians everywhere. So I got to give them props on that.
Yeah, they're pretty good at imposing their will.
Well, yeah, yeah. I don't know. They're doing something right.
um all right. uh do you literally play every instrument?
Yes,
Wow. So you're a drummer, guitar player, bass player. Do you play any keyboards?
yes. Very little, but everything you hear on the recording, I played. Yeah.
Wow. Man, good for you. Holy cow. What an undertaking. So,
Well, it came
sorry.
through necessity. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, 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 no. No, continue,
But
please.
when you're called upon something, you don't say no. You just do as you're told, and then you see what happens. That's what having faith is.
I dig it, man. And like you've created some really, really beautiful tracks, so obviously there's some fucking proof in the pudding, you know?
Yeah, and there's more to come.
Hell yeah. So what was your first instrument? What's your main trade when it comes to music?
So I started off. I was maybe 15 or 16 years old when I
Yep.
started playing music with others. I always, as a kid, played by myself. Did all kinds of weird stuff. But as a group, I started singing in punk rock bands, essentially just screaming in a microphone.
Okay.
Um, you know, um, No Effects says it best. You don't need talent; you just need attitude.
Ah, I love
And
it.
that's how I was in the beginning of my playing. And eventually, the band that I was in needed a second guitar player, so I learned. I mean, as much as I could,
Yep.
and then I sang and played guitar. And that's pretty much what I've done for every project that I've been in. I've always sang and played guitar. I've never really wanted to sing for the projects, but with our group of friends, I always end up being the one that has the most ranges or whatever.
Okay.
So I always get stuck doing that. And with this project, I did everything by myself. So I was pretty much stuck doing that again.
Ah, fair enough.
Yeah.
But it's for the greater good in the long run of it, you know.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
I agree.
it just allows you to get out there more and then find the missing puzzle pieces that you need to create your group, you know.
Well, we've been doing pretty well. We have a really talented keyboard player who also sings backing vocals. She's
Oh,
amazing.
wicked.
We have a really solid bass player, and our drummer, who's pretty much the newest member of our group, is doing amazing. He's making leaps and bounds. So,
Sweet. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So we're getting better. The coven grows.
Right. So, what are you guys working on right now? Are you kind of taking a step back in the recording roles and allowing the new members to come in and put their lay down their fucking like grooves on the track and stuff like that?
Well, right now we have a ton of shows. So we spend the majority of our time rehearsing and playing shows. So in October itself, we have three shows.
Oh, sweet.
We have one in September for now. It's mostly because some of us are going to be traveling to Georgia to go see Mastodon. Um, so we're going to be a little busy. And then after that, we have a show on September 11th, strangely enough.
Nice.
We have a show October 1st, October 28th, and October 29th. So we're pretty busy performing and rehearsing, and we have sometimes different people playing different shows.
Okay.
So I have to be a part of every single one of those rehearsals. So I'm pretty busy with that. But at the same time, I am recording music myself and another Coven member who's a noise artist. He plays
Okay.
in a group called Human Fluid Rot. His name is Robbie, an incredibly talented man. Him and I are working together to create a single that's going to come out in October. It's called Ash Covered Altar. It's
Ooh.
about getting your old self and presenting it and setting it to blaze so that you can be free. And he's providing all these crazy samples in the background. He mostly does a lot of noise stuff, but for us, he's been kind of toning it down and providing weird like uh, pastors talking and like twisting it and like turning it and thunderstorms and monks chanting, and it's been a really cool team up.
Sweet. Man, I,
Yeah,
I totally dig like ambience and electronic music and shit like that. So
absolutely. Yeah,
that's totally right up my alley.
yeah. Everybody contributes something different to the group.
Fair enough. Fair, fair, fair. Um and what a great way to network like collaborating with other musicians and stuff like that, you know. It provides opportunity for fans of their genre and their music to take a look at your stuff, and it provides your fans another outlet to look at someone else's project as well.
That's a great way of putting it. For me, that's just a byproduct of what's happening naturally, the organic thing where I present this to a group of people and instantly they want to be a part of it.
Sweet.
So it's great. It's not a difficult thing to sell to them. I earnestly show them. They see how passionate I am about it. They're into the music, and they instantly want their robes and they want to be on the next show. So
Oh man, that's great. That's
we
totally great.
performed we performed one show with 7 people on stage. That was our second show ever. Was
Wow.
7 people on stage. Yeah. So we
Holy
had
shit.
guitar and vocals, which was myself. We had a guitar player. We had a
Yeah.
bass player. We had a keyboard player. We had a drummer. We had a xylophone player. He was playing an electric
Whoa.
xylophone, so he was having all kinds of different soundscapes. And Robbie was with us as well. He had like all these pedals, and he was just like making all these crazy sounds. It was epic. Yeah,
Sweet. That's
yeah.
totally wicked.
I would
Um,
love to reproduce that every time.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
If the means were there, if all
exactly,
7 people could be on stage with you guys.
exactly.
Um, I actually watched this band last night called The Cavernous, and it was two guys on stage. One guy sat behind an electronic drum set and had like a little tiny keyboard. and
Okay.
then and then the other guy stood behind a keyboard and then also had a smaller keyboard on top of his keyboard, and then
Oh,
loads of effects. Both of them had
cool.
loads of effects. Not a whole lot of drumming. Like there was lots of beats in the songs, but like the drummer was playing the his keyboard just as much as he was drumming. And
Awesome.
I was like, wow, this is like absolutely the coolest and most original way to play electronic like dance music. Like at least you're not just standing there watching a guy who created all these sick beats at home, and you just hit watching him hit play on his tracks and stuff like that. I'm like,
Right.
these guys are building it from scratch, loop pedals and getting
That sounds
some
awesome.
right, getting some funky sounds in there and stuff. It was sweet.
That's really cool. It kind of reminds me of like early Nine Inch Nails, where it's
Yeah.
like all these guys with keyboards, like just like making all these sounds, these like industrial machine sounds. And have you ever heard of a band called Skinny Puppy?
No.
You should check it out. You should check it
Skinny
out.
puppy?
Yeah, it's industrial, but it's complete madness. It's great. I believe they're
Sweet.
from Canada.
I
Yeah.
have I have like a list of probably 20 or 30 bands here that
Okay.
people have recommended me, so I have a lot of shit to check out.
Yeah, just if you were interested in that type of music, I think you would enjoy Skinny Puppy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
Another
I'm
band I think you might like is called Conan.
Conan?
Yeah,
Like the
just like the
barbarian?
character. Yeah, they're pretty great too. I think you. It's. I don't know if you're into that, but it's like ridiculously heavy.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, I'm down to check anything out.
Me too.
And usually most of the time, if I listen to something and I don't just like dig it right away, I'm like, okay, kind of feel where my emotional state's at, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'm just not ready to accept this new music yet or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'll always give it another chance, and if I give it another chance and maybe I'm feeling like I'm in the mood for it and it still doesn't hit, maybe then I'll be like, okay, this just isn't for me or whatever. But most of the time, maybe even sometimes it takes someone's opinion to be like, oh man, you really didn't like those guys, like what did you ever check out this song? And I'll be like, okay, maybe I'll try one more time, and usually I can find something to hold on to and grasp.
Right. I think that's a good approach. I mean, the state of mind that you're in is going to be how you're going to enjoy something or not. You know, I've been dismissive of stuff that I've listened to later on and be like, why did I dismiss that? And it was because I was in a state of mind where I didn't have the patience to appreciate it. And with music, something that is so subjective, it's really about they create something and then you're in a place, and sometimes where you are and where they are don't line up, and that's okay because later on you may be or you may never, and that's fine too. It's a shared experience. And I'm glad that you always give it a second chance. That's really smart.
Well, that was one of my biggest downfalls, being young, um like you're always so self-conscious, like especially in high school and stuff like that. You tell someone that you're like, oh, I tried listening to the Used or whatever, and they're like, oh, you listen to the Used, they fucking suck or whatever, and you're like, okay, I guess I won't listen to the Used or whatever, like this is my friend telling me that they suck or whatever, right? and
Right.
then and then maybe 5 years later, you're out of high school, you don't talk to the person that told you that they sucked anymore, and you
Hmm.
listen to the used again, you're like, oh wow, this is actually really fucking awesome. Why did I ever have a problem with these guys, you know?
I think that's a really great example of someone imposing shame onto you and changing the way that you think of yourself. You see, what we do is we help people understand that that's like a mask that somebody puts on you. And we help people remove that mask so that you can appreciate everything in life, whether it's the used or a pop punk band or a beer that you didn't like, you know?
Totally.
Life, I'm telling you, I mean, I put people in the ground every day. And you have to really appreciate every single fraction of a conversation, every beer that you share with somebody, because I promise you, you will be dead sooner than you know it. So if you like the used, listen to the used. Don't listen to anybody. Trust your gut.
Cool. It might have been a bad example, because they're like
No,
a
it's a
fairly
perfect
popular
example.
band, but
Perfect example. You know how many people hate popular bands? That doesn't make any sense to me. You hate
they're
a band because they're popular, or do
right.
you hate a band because they understand what they're doing, they understand the market? Good for them.
Totally
If it's
right.
not for you, it's not for you. But don't hate on anybody. Life is short. Spend your
Yeah,
energy on improving yourself.
exactly.
Yeah.
That yeah. If I don't like a band, I'm not gonna go around preaching that they suck or
Sure.
anything like that. Right?
Right.
Or
Right.
and who the fuck am I to ever judge if they suck or not?
It's
Like
it's
I'm
ridiculous.
I make my own music, and I know that there is, well, I mean, we're already in the one of like the most hated genres of music, metal.
Which is, oh yeah,
Like right, like we maybe we got a little bit of some reprieve with the new Stranger Things, and
sure.
Eddie shredding some Metallica or whatever, but
Hmm.
I still feel like we're we're the least amount of music that's listened to, on the face of the earth, right? So,
I agree with you.
but at the same time as that, I feel like the fans that we do get are much more dedicated than the fans of pop music or
Yeah.
some of obviously if somebody's going through a tough time and like Cardi B takes you out of that with fucking super bass or something like that,
Yeah.
then fly at it, right? But I
I,
feel
I
like with our lyric content and how raw and visceral our music can be, I feel like it just hits home so much more, right?
I think to shame anyone for liking or disliking something is ridiculous. If you're a fan of 6ix9ine, who's a kind of a ridiculous on purpose type of guy,
Yeah.
that's good for you. I don't like it. I don't think he's very talented. I don't think that there's anything interesting musically about what he does.
Hmm.
But I could see how someone could find that entertaining, and I applaud him for that. You
Totally.
know, music is subjective. And like you were talking about metal fans can be some of the most loyal and diehard fans. I mean, anybody that loves Slayer can tell you that.
Yeah.
But metal fans can also be the most judgmental because they don't want other people to be a part of it. They want it to be like this it's only for us kind of thing. And that's not how, when you love something, when you praise something, you don't keep it for yourself. So I disagree with them on that point.
Totally. I think that is metal fans, but that's almost like metal musicians who
Yeah,
are fans, right? They're
right.
they're more the gatekeepers when it comes to like only listening to old metal thrash, early death and stuff like that. So,
Right. You know what's an interesting point that you just made? I would dare to challenge this, that the majority of metal fans are metal musicians, right? And musicians are the worst type of fans. I can tell you this. The worst.
totally. they
I'm
they
speaking for myself.
they can be.
We're the worst. So as a musician, my job isn't to try and get the other guys in the band to like me, because they're gonna hate me regardless. They're gonna find something that I'm not doing that they're doing, and they're gonna judge me for that. I'm not here to win them over
Hmm.
because they're gonna just stay in the corner and be angry, and that's fine. I'm not here for that. My mission is much larger than them. So that's what I focus on. I just focus on making really good music.
Fair
Period.
enough. I've like, well, obviously since COVID ended, I've had the privilege to check out um two metal festivals and a handful of local metal shows,
Sure.
and all I can say is that, like, every musician that I've seen is talented in their own right.
Absolutely.
Like, some guys go out there and they're just like incredible at shredding and writing all these really fast riffs and stuff like that. And then some bands, maybe they're not fast and shredding, but they're technical with their time signatures, and how exactly the bass is working with the guitar and the drums all at the same time, and there's something to take away from every experience at a metal show.
Absolutely. I would say even better yet, the next time you go to a show, don't even think about any of that stuff. Just listen to the music.
Totally.
See how it makes you feel. If it makes you want to headbang, then it's doing a good job. That's it's that simple. It's about how it makes you feel. Music is about communication.
Hmm.
And if I'm playing something, I'm shredding, and you're just like, okay, cool. What am I communicating with you? Nothing, right? Nothing. I'm communicating with you that I'm awesome and you're not.
Yeah.
Or on the other hand, right? A really awesome band like the Melvins that I really enjoy doesn't shred. They just have these amazing grooves that is at the moment they start playing, you're like almost possessed by the patterns and the rhythms. And the songs are relatively easy to play.
Yep.
So who's the better musician?
Right. That
That's subjective. But in my opinion, I think it's the one that moves you in either way, emotionally, physically. Anybody that can change your state of mind, that's powerful, you know,
totally.
and that's important, I think.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so we played a show on Thursday. We opened up for this really cool local band called Planet Killer. Check them out if you haven't
Yeah,
already.
I will.
Um so I'm door guy on Thursday. The venue that we were playing at, they didn't have a door guy. So I'm door guy for that night. And it's like second first or second song in their set, I got this big wad of cash in my hands, and I got the wristbands in my other hand, and I'm like I have to go up there and mosh right now because I can't stand at the door anymore. Like I just
That's awesome.
felt compelled to get up there and just be
Yeah,
part of it.
absolutely. It's like those people in the evangelical churches that they just have to they start speaking tongues. You know what I mean? Like when a band does that to you, that's powerful. I'm glad
Totally.
that you experienced it. That's great.
And then I'll throw out another name, a band that I saw at Armstrong Metal Fest, where I'm from, and this band was Ophelia Falling, and I guess sort of like the Melvins, like a little bit more of a simplistic approach to their songs and stuff like that.
Right.
Um, but the way that they put their music together, and it was like almost like operatic vocals from a female singer. They
Wow.
played their last song, and it was like emotional to the point where it like as close as I could have gotten to crying without crying.
That's
Just
amazing.
felt so emotional at the end of it, and I was just like, walking around afterwards, like just didn't even know what to do with myself. I was like, wow, that was just simply amazing. Holy cow, I need to go talk to these guys. Like I need to tell them how I feel.
That's awesome. I'm really happy that you got to experience that. You see, that to me is what making music is about. It's like communication, connecting with people. That's very important, I think. And definitely after we finish the podcast, I want to see if you could send me some links so I can check out their music.
Fuck yeah, dude. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. So, we're living in this digital age. The only way to reach our followers and stuff like that is by sharing stuff on social media and stuff like that. How do
Correct.
you find navigating social media?
I'm not a big fan of it. I find that it's necessary.
Yeah.
The more that I do it, the more comfortable I become because I feel like I'm making new friends as I go. I feel like the spider web is like becoming larger with every new person that reaches out to us. And I kind of approached it in a like a chore, but now I'm at a point where I'm really kind of enjoying the interactions with the people. I've made friends with guys in Indonesia, people in the Philippines, people in Spain, bands that are like in Germany, like talking to me like, "Oh, this is you're doing awesome stuff," and then I check out their bands like, "No, you guys are doing awesome stuff," and it's really cool. I don't know. I think it's like a necessary evil. For the times that we are now. When I was younger, we put flyers on cars. You know,
Right.
like Churchill's, 8 p.m. It's $5 at the door, and we did that, and that's like pretty much on the verge of vandalism, because it would rain and the flyers would get stuck on the car windows and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And now we can do that digitally, and people all over the world can see it. So the guys in the Philippines that I made friends with, Natal Cleft, awesome band, they're
Yeah.
a grindcore band. Um, they saw what I was doing. Instead of coming to Churchill's because they can't physically come here to
Yeah.
Miami, they just go to Bandcamp and they check us out, and then they start following us, and then they buy the digital album, and then you know we're in an age right now where anybody can put music out there. There's zero. The gatekeeper's gone, you know, and people are making the decisions whether they like it or not. There isn't like a marketing machine behind Snakehealer. It's just you know, one guy with really bad intentions, and that's it.
Or great intentions.
Well, world domination, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was the biggest uphill battle that we found right away. My band started in like 2018. We were on top of the fucking world. We were just like, oh yeah, we're gonna kick so much ass, we're gonna play all these shows and everything, and then COVID-19 comes in and squashes
oh,
everything. So like interviewing bands and stuff, it was like our way to give back but also
yeah,
connect at the same time.
right.
And
That's important.
absolutely, and it's been ultra rewarding, going to metal festivals and then seeing the bands perform that you've chatted to and stuff like that. Yeah, it's one of a kind, so cool.
It's great, man. A lot of it, what's going on now, reminds me of the punk rock scene from when I was a kid, where everybody helped each other out. You didn't have an amp, no problem. You don't have a drum set, cool, use mine. Um, it was awesome, man. It was like a community here in Miami. Growing up, I'm really lucky that I got to be a part of that. Having a big mohawk and a leather jacket and smelling like crap, and having my Doc Martens, and um, it changed me. It helped me understand that there's so much more to a community than just being cool. It's about putting in the work, and you know just connecting with people and playing shows, and I'm trying to do more of that now. Get my experiences and bring it into Instagram, for example,
Yep.
or bring it into talking with you, doing podcasts, and just making sure people understand that we're genuine, and we really are passionate about what we do, and meeting other people like yourself that are as well. That's important. It builds a community, and things just go up from there.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
And to kick it back to the old days again, like I just remember local shows. It was just like a local show was happening. There was no genre defining or anything like that.
Right.
It was just like this punk band was going to play with this hardcore band who
Yep.
was going to play with like a metal band. we we
Right.
we didn't know about all the subgenres and stuff like that back in the early 2000s and or
Right.
whatever. We just, like, if there was something loud and the vocalist was screaming, we're just like, that's metal. Yeah, that's fucking metal.
Right.
So there was probably lots of hard rock that I listened to, back in the day, that I was like, oh, these guys are metal, because they'd have a few screaming verses in their songs.
Sure.
But yeah, man, I loved the community vibe, the communal vibe to it. Like, it was just like, you're gonna have like 30 people who enjoy this music, 30 people who
Yeah,
enjoy this music, 30 people who enjoy
right.
this music, and we're all gonna just have a fucking great night tonight, you know?
Imagine if how you felt in that time, that innocence that you had, that you didn't know what was metal, right?
Yeah,
Imagine if everybody was like that. How much better the world would be. That they didn't focus on you're not metal enough, or you're not doom enough, or you're not this. Who cares? Who gives a shit?
right?
Realistically, whatever the music that I'm playing right now, 30 years from now is going to be called something else. You know what I mean? They'll
Exactly.
probably categorize Snakehealer as neo gothic electronic Latin choir doom metal. Who cares what it's called? It's stupid. It's a dumb argument. Are you having a good time? Yes. Fucking come to the show.
Exactly.
That's what
That's
matters.
that's all that metal, or that's all
It's
that
still,
matters.
yeah, it's dumb, man. Like you said, I remember being a kid playing punk rock, and then like a rapper coming on and like spitting crazy bars, like vicious bars, and then like a hardcore band, like Agnostic Front type of band,
Yep, yep.
and then like some like super like thrash metal band would play, and it was awesome. Everybody had a good time. Nobody cared about what shoes they were wearing, or what brand guitar they had, or what genre they're in. They didn't care. They just wanted to have a good time. And I think a lot of it's normal for humans to want to categorize things, to put things in boxes, because it makes sense for our brains.
Hmm.
We're very limited, and I get it. But when you start getting comfortable with things, you start really losing the appreciation of everything. Like I mentioned before, comfort is the enemy of progress.
Right.
When you start getting comfortable with your wife, that's bad. You know, you're not gonna want to cuddle with her anymore. Your relationship's gonna go down. When you start getting comfortable with your job, you're not gonna work hard anymore. When you start getting comfortable with your band, you're not gonna be trying to get on every single show possible. So whenever you become comfortable, you're failing yourself. You know. So you always kind of want to be like, am I gonna somebody gonna beat my ass tonight? Am I gonna get robbed? Like that should be like in the back of their mind when you go to a show. Like, is this guy gonna smash me in the face with a bottle? Is this band gonna jump on me like off stage? Like there should be that element of danger, of that innocence, and not focusing on like, wait a second, are they playing in 3/4 or in 5/4? Because if they aren't, then they aren't progressive black and doom. Who
Right.
cares? Shut up. Drink a beer. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Smoke a joint.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
ridiculous.
Get to the point where you can't even count numbers anymore, all right, bitch?
Right. Feel it. Feel the groove, man. And it's silly. And I've been really lucky that um we've had like a really great reception, because all I've done is get all these things that are being put onto me from
Hmm.
somewhere else, beamed into my mind, put them on the internet, and people are enjoying it. They're not worried about what is the genre. They don't care. I've never
Right.
had anybody tell me, what type of genre do you play? They don't care. They're just like, this is cool. We enjoy it. And it's been awesome, an incredibly refreshing experience. Yeah,
That's funny because I'll always ask people, like
sure.
what do you consider your genre or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're totally right, man. It's just whether you feel something or whether you don't.
Right. I think the people decide what genre you are. Whenever they ask me that, I just make up different things every time, every single time. And I say it with a complete straight face. They'll say, okay, what kind of genre do you? I say, oh, it's occult, worship, doom. And I
They're
just
like,
stare at them.
oh, okay, okay, yeah,
Yeah, what's the
yeah.
music about? And then I just look at them and I just go, Satan. It's not about Satan. It's a joke. Like, come on, man. It's about Serpentis Dominus, about the Garden of Eden. It's about bettering yourself. It's much more than Satan. It's much more than a musical genre. And people focus so much on all these labels. It's okay. It's human. It's fine. I forgive you. But we can be better.
I love it, dude. I love it. Um, what what kind of guitar do you play?
Sure. We're just making a joke about that. About
Totally, I know,
people
I know
worrying
that
about, yeah.
it sparked the thought. I was like, okay,
Okay, okay.
what do you
Well,
play?
I've always played Gibson guitars,
Ooh.
and not for any particular reason. It was because the first Gibson guitar that I got, I believe I got it in like 2005. It was used, extremely used. I still use it today. It's a Gibson Explorer, white,
Okay.
badass guitar,
Nice.
completely stock, and it's awesome. It's this vicious flamethrower, and I just kind of fell in love with that sound. And ever since then, I tried to acquire a couple more. But I'm not opposed to playing anything. You know, I've come to the realization that as a musician, I can pretty much get my tool to sound however I need it to. You know, a tool is like a paintbrush. Um, and you use different paintbrushes for different things when you paint.
Hmm.
So guitars are like that too. And amps and things like that. And I try not to get too wrapped up over brands. I don't want to be loyal to anybody. I want them to serve me. And
Yes.
so far, my instruments have served me very well. But I'm open, man. I think an amazing company is called Dunnable. I believe
Yeah.
they're in California. I would
Yeah.
love, love, love to play one of the guitars.
Nice.
Um, the other guitar player in our band, he plays this. It's a Japanese brand called Aria Pro, and they're awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I think
They're,
I've seen
they're
Aria
amazing.
before.
Yeah, they've been around for a long time. I'm not opposed to anything, man. As long as I can get it to sound good, that's pretty much all I care about. At the end of the day, it's about praising our Lord in the best way possible. You know, and these are just tools. That's all.
I also, uh, it was a long time ago. It's probably, well, not that long ago, probably 5 to 10 years ago. I heard this really cool, it was an interview with this luthier out of, I believe he was out of Vancouver, British Columbia, up in Canada here. And, he was saying that there's something that happens to the wood inside an instrument the more you play the instrument, and the vibrations like just rich in the wood. So any instrument can almost sound not exactly how it's going to sound after you've
Of
played it for
course.
5 or 10 years. And that gave me such a perfect and beautiful perspective on all of my instruments after that, because I had my favorite bass when I was younger, and then I was like, well, I'm just like neglecting these other ones, and they're not getting any of the love, and they're not getting any of the vibrations through them. And then the more I started to play them, the more I fell in love with their sound and the way they felt and shit like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, instruments are like exactly what you said. It's wood. It was alive. It has its own characteristics. Now they might be made to a specific specification, and that's great. So you have some type of consistency. But I have a white Gibson Flying V that I think is from 2003.
Okay.
Danny, our other guitar player, has a black Gibson. I'm sorry, Explorer. He has a black one, and it's made in a different year, and it sounds totally different. And it's exactly the same hardware. Everything's the same. You know, that's
Crazy.
fine. I have a faded SG. I don't think they make those anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's from like 2000 or something like that. I love the way that it sounds. And he has the same exact SG, but it's painted,
Okay.
and I hate the way it sounds. You know,
Weird, eh?
yeah, it happens. And you really, I feel that every instrument is unique in its own way, and realistically, you can learn to really appreciate them. You know, and I, it's almost like they have like their own personality, and the personality changes over time, of course. Like an aging dog. They're really hyper at first, and then as they get older, they're a little more chill, and then eventually they pass.
Yeah.
And an instrument is like that too. A guitar is not going to last you forever. The frets are going to wear, the pickups need to be changed, the wires need to be resoldered. It's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
But appreciate all your bases, man. Enjoy them all. I'm sure they're all special in their own way.
Totally. For if at the very least, just because I own them.
Right. Absolutely. That's a good way of thinking about it. But there's a lot more to it than just that. There's a lot of, like you said, the vibrations, the temperature, the condition, all that has to do with it. And
Totally.
as a musician, the fact that you can even understand that that's happening shows that you're at a higher level than most of the dudes that are only caring about what's the logo on the headstock.
Fair.
So you're in the right place.
Fair. Yeah, I've always been that person too, kind of a little more superficial, like, Oh, well, I mean, like very obvious with my three main basses that I have. You know, like I have this like high end Yamaha, this medium end Fender, and then like a Music Man Stingray bass, and and I go to these music festivals and everyone's got custom basses, and you're like, oh, but then at the end of the day, I'm just like, no, like I make badass sounds out of all of my instruments, so who cares, right?
Who cares? Custom instruments are awesome and they're beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with owning them. And if you have the means to do so, that's great. You know, good for you. Um, but realistically, it's what you do with your instrument that makes you special. It makes your music special. And if you can focus on the music, you'll be better off than thinking about like, wow, he has a Zon bass. You know, that cost him like 8 grand. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Do you think the audience cares? They don't. I
Well,
promise you.
of course they do. They're all metal musicians, you know.
Well, the ones buying the CDs don't care
Fair
because
enough,
the musicians don't buy anything.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're too poor, man.
right. We're too poor playing shows that no, that's only other musicians.
Right?
Right. We're doing something wrong, man.
It's metal musicians and metal musicians' significant others attending these
Oh,
shows, you know?
no. We have to change this.
Totally.
We have to change this.
So, what do you want to do in the next, say, half a year to a year,
I would
musically, with your message, anything, all of it?
I would love to release another EP.
Yeah.
We're already working on that. I want to be active. I want to play as many shows as possible. I'm already kind of like in talks about hopefully maybe doing some shows out of state, and then eventually doing shows like in places where there isn't a lot of metal, like in the Philippines.
Ooh.
I don't know how well that will go for us because of a lot of our, religious and Catholic imagery in the Philippines. They're very religious, and they will murder us with machetes. Um, but sometimes that's just the risk you have to take, you know. So serpentis dominus.
Totally, right?
Yeah.
The Lord and
So yeah,
Savior told you to go that
right.
way.
So we're thinking about doing some shows there, maybe some stuff in the UK, wherever, man. Anybody that'll have us. We've made friends with some bands in Greece, and I thought that'd be really cool. Just expand the message. Just be out there and show people what we have. We have something. I wouldn't say that what we do is unique because I think that's kind of like arrogant for me to think that.
Hmm.
I'll allow other people to make that decision to say yes it is or no it's not. But I can say that what we do is comes from a genuine place, and it's something that's done with a lot of passion and love. You know, so hopefully people can see that and connect to that.
Dude, like I was listening to your tracks, and I I mean, like I always hear influences and stuff, and you know what, what I hear as you guys being influenced by, and who you're actually influenced by, is 1,000% different. You know, like, oh,
Really,
I hear Metallica in here or whatever, you know, right?
I
And you're
love
like,
Metallica.
yeah, but at the same time, you're like, well, no, like I was actually going for this one part in a Pantera song or something like that,
Sure, I see what you mean.
and the person's just like completely out to lunch and what and who they think that you're trying to emulate or whatever, you know.
Right. I
Um,
try not to focus on that when I make music at all, at all. And also when I listen to music, I try not to do that at all because I kind of find it to be a waste of time. I'm not saying that what you did was a waste of time, but hear me out.
I can't help how
Hear
my
me out.
brain works, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Hear me out. Hear me out. I think that you're possibly approaching it the wrong way if you want to enjoy something. You know what I mean? Like if you're eating like a really nice pizza, right? Don't focus so much on how the pizza was made. Enjoy the slice. Don't think, is this a New York style or is this Chicago? Just enjoy it. Enjoy the moment. And I think you're gonna have a much better experience. But I'm curious, what bands do you think were the influences?
I don't know. Like I would just mostly go with with like older school like thrash metal, you know. I
Okay,
hear some Slayer and Metallica and stuff in there.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I could see how I could see that. I've had people adamantly say that we're a traditional doom band,
Okay.
and I'm like, okay, what does that mean? I don't know. Um, it's fine. I try not to. I don't think about it.
Who are traditional to doom bands?
Like Black Sabbath.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, that would be like a traditional doom band.
Okay.
So people say that, and I'm like, that's cool. I think Black Sabbath is awesome, so I appreciate that. I think that our music has a lot of, I would say, like flavors. Has some flavors of like sludge metal.
Mhm.
Has like some flavors of like obviously thrash metal. Has some doom. It even has like weird like religious, church music. Obviously, there's a lot of organ. There's a lot of Latin chants and things like that. And
Mhm.
those are just things that just come to me, and I'm forced to obey. You know.
Cool, man. I like that, you know. I think it takes a lot of the struggle out of traditional music writing, you know. Whether you're sitting there thinking like, "Oh, is this riff cool enough or are people going to like this?" and stuff like that. You're like, "Fuck you, man. I'm writing what I write. I was fucking told to write it like this, you know? And you'll either accept or fucking be wrong."
That's a good way of putting it. Um, it's much more simple than that. It's like this. I'm gonna describe it for you, and this might be a little morbid. It's like your brain becomes possessed by a demon, and the only way to exercise it from your mind, the only way to stop it from haunting your dreams, the only way from stopping it enveloping your every single thought is to let it out, and it's to let it out in music. And once you do that, there's like a relief, and that's the experience. I'm not worried about what people think about it. I've had most recently a venue that we play at refuse to post our videos on their Instagram page because they said that we were too evil. And I asked him very politely, how so? He said, because of your guy's message. And I said, what message is that? And he said,
Please.
yeah, tell me.
Please.
He says all the Satan stuff. And I laughed. And I said, if you've listened to any of the music, there is nothing like that at all. Period. Obviously, you're not listening, and that's okay. And he said, if you change the way you present yourself, I'd be more than happy to post it. I said, look, we're not going to change our message because it makes you uncomfortable. The fact that you are uncomfortable shows me that I'm saying what needs to be said. And that helped me realize, sure, maybe that means a little bit less promotion for me, but if we stay real and genuine, people can feel that,
Hmm.
and that's more important to me.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're making someone feel uncomfortable, then right down to your original message today, you're doing your fucking job, you know?
Absolutely. And I've had, since I started putting this project out there, I've had several people refuse to speak to me anymore, completely cut me off because they don't like what I'm doing. They feel that I'm bringing evil into this world. And I've sent them the song lyrics and they refuse to read them. I have explained to them the lore of what we do and they refuse to listen.
Hmm.
So that's okay. It's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to be saved, and that's okay.
Right? And you don't need that kind of like negativity in your life anyways, so.
Right. And I am a big believer in welcoming challenge and conflict.
Hmm.
I as we were talking about before, a lot of my previous jobs had to do with conflict and throwing people out of bars and things like that.
Yep.
And I'm very comfortable with that. But when I can see that someone is genuinely afraid of something that is honest and pure, I feel bad for them. I feel sorry for them, and that's okay. This is not for everyone, but this is definitely for me.
Totally. And I just I don't even understand where that frame of mind would even come from a person, you know, like it
People
like
fear what they don't understand. It's normal. It's nature. They're just being human, and I
fair.
have to forgive them for it.
I love it, dude. I fucking love it. Um so like to totally just spin it right around, you were
Okay,
mentioning pizza the like a few minutes ago. What's your favorite kind of
sure.
pizza?
Oh man, this is gonna sound kind of boring, but my favorite kind of pizza is has to be Sicilian, the really thick one,
Okay.
with anchovies, black olives, and just like slices of tomato. I love that. It's the perfect balance of like just stinky nastiness in your face,
Yep.
but like this sweet, I don't know. I'm weird, I guess. That's what I
Dude,
like. I dated a Greek girl for a long time, so that's kind of like why I was into that.
fair. Totally fair. Man, I've never had anchovies on pizza.
It's delicious.
Like, I don't know, we're very uncultured up in Canada, you know? We just
Really? I would think you guys had more fish up there. No?
yeah, absolutely, but like the only pizza that I've ever had with fish on it was like a fish taco pizza, you know, and I think it was just some like
Dolphin, breaded.
right probably
Yeah, like
right.
a fish stick on a pizza.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man. Well, it's delicious. Anchovies on pizza or sardines on pizza, it's delicious. They have little tiny bones, but they're like the thickness of like a hair, so you barely feel it.
Okay.
And you just eat them whole, man. Just be
Yeah, no.
brave, embrace challenge,
Be uncomfortable for once,
be
motherfucker.
uncomfortable. Put some rocks in your shoes and walk around, and then take it off and appreciate your pair of shoes.
Oh, that's so much better.
Right.
Totally. All right, well, do you have anything that you want to say to your fans before we wrap her up here?
I do. I want to say genuinely thank you for all the immense support that they've been showing us. I almost feel like it's undeserved, but it's it's strange. It's I wasn't expecting to be welcomed with such open arms, and the message that we have, and our Lord Serpentis Dominus has grown so much on the internet, and I just feel very humbled by all of it. So thank you, all of you guys. I promise I will work as hard as I can to do the best for our Lord and to bring our message to all of you. And I will play every single show that is offered to me, even if it's for no money, because our message deserves to be heard. So if you have a bar mitzvah, if you have a birthday party with clowns, and you want us to play, hit me up. We'll be there.
Hell yeah, dude. Man, I think your following is the most deserved. I mean, like I'm not just trying to like pump your tires or anything like that, but like you're literally trying to gain fans by going against the grain of traditional norms in every sense of the word. So the people that you pick up on the way, you know, like that's just perfect, right? Like they're following you for no other reason than than the music and the message.
Well, I hope so. I think that the road has been paved by people like King Diamond and Alice Cooper,
Hmm.
and just bands that refuse to just to be the norm. Metal used to be something that challenged people. Judas Priest, and Black Sabbath even.
Yep.
People were scared, you know, and people were entertained. And now, everybody's wearing jeans and wearing black T-shirts on stage, and they all have the same guitars, and all the drums sound the same, and all the singers sound the same, and it makes me sad that no one is brave enough to challenge themselves to get outside of their norm.
Hmm.
I'm a strong believer that if a band is performing on stage and someone is paying to watch them,
Hmm.
it is the band's duty to provide them with a show, right? And if the band is wearing a band t-shirt and jeans and they're dressed exactly the same as the guy in the audience, right? What is the difference there? What is that person paying for? They're paying for the guy next to them just to go up on stage and give them a show. That's not a show. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Part of metal is to challenge people, to get them out of the comfort, to present them with something that at that moment is a little bitter, it's a little strange, it's a little weird, but they can become accustomed to it. And my job is to present them with the show so that they have a good time. We perform communion at every single one of our shows. People come and we feed them a wafer and we bless them with Serpentis Dominus, and they're part of us. We want them to be a part of the show. It's an experience. So I'm not trying to crap on other bands. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is that us as a community, we got to try better. We got to try harder. We got to do more. Get out of the comfort zone. Challenge yourself. Put some makeup on. Do something.
Totally.
Pyro. I don't know. Anything. Give me something, man. Some backdrops. I don't
Wear
know.
wear a dress, you know?
Wear a dress. I mean, a perfect example. A perfect example is Kiss. They weren't the best musicians in the world, but they understood what it is to perform a show, to give people their money's worth. Their songs are about goofy stuff, about like going to the disco and meeting girls, but their show was amazing, and they really got it. And I feel that that's lost with a lot of bands now. Judas Priest wore leather and spikes, you know, before the death metal bands did it.
Yeah,
Um, you understand what I'm saying?
totally. I mean, you like you went there with Ozzy. He was like the most
Yeah,
controversial at the beginning, you know?
absolutely.
It was the 70s when they were doing that, right?
Right, right. Biting the heads off bats. Just do something because metal shouldn't be comfortable. The second, like you said, if it's being played like in the JC Penney, that's a store in the United States. I know that you live in Canada. Sorry.
I've heard of JCPenney.
Okay, it's like a store where like you buy like dad clothes, that type of stuff. It's like not fashionable things. It's like normal people clothes, right? And they have a makeup counter and there's like a perfume thing and through the speakers they're playing like really easy to listen to music,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Metal's not designed for that. Metal's designed to wake you up, to challenge you. Metal is not going to be in an elevator, it's not for that. Metal's not going to be playing at Starbucks because Starbucks is about chill. Starbucks is a coffee. Sorry, you're Canadian. My bad.
no,
Is
no,
a
no.
chain of. Okay,
We got Starbucks here too. They're on every street corner.
my bad. So Starbucks is a place where people go to relax, right? They have their laptops and they're there doing whatever they do. You're not going to have Judas Priest, screaming, breaking the law at Starbucks. And if they do, there's something wrong. There's something wrong, right?
Um, I I just heard the other day that um when a Tesla alarm goes off, apparently it plays some sort of death metal.
Cool.
Right? I was at a customer's house.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fixing their air conditioner or whatever. I have my phone out and I'm listening to like all of my liked songs, so it's like a mishmash of every genre that's out there, you know? And I go down into to the electrical room, turn off a breaker, come back up, and I apologize to the homeowners right away. You know, they're very chill people, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry if my phone played any metal or whatever while I was downstairs." And they're like, "Oh, no, no worries or whatever." They're like, "Actually, we just found out that our Tesla plays metal when the alarm's going off, you know, when somebody's trying to break in or open the door
Perfect.
without having
Yeah.
the keys." And I was like, "Wow,
Because it
crazy."
will catch someone's attention. It alerts the senses. That's what metal's supposed to be. And it's supposed to be so much more than what it is right now, and it makes me sad. I want it to be. I want the satanic panic to happen again from the 80s. I want people to genuinely be afraid of us because it's fun.
Totally.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think everyone's kind of diminished the fear of metalheads, right?
sure.
Like there were I felt like there was something to be scared of when you didn't really know the members of Slipknot, but you'd heard them for the first time and they're wearing these
Right.
masks on stage and you're like, "What the fuck? Who are these
The
people?"
show, the show, the show. They
Totally,
got
right?
it. Slipknot gets it. Bands like Ghost get it.
Mhm.
Bands like I don't know, man. There's all kinds of stuff. There's this interesting band from Japan called I think they're called Bandmade or something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
and they play dressed as maids, and
Okay.
they play kind of like, sometimes they play like genty type metal, sometimes whatever, but people really enjoy them because they have a show. You know, you go there, it's a bunch of maids, they're beautiful women, and they're playing like heavy metal stuff. It's pretty cool.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You've definitely given me lots to think about, dude.
good,
I
good.
appreciate the hell out of that.
Well, I mean, life is short, man. You only got like a little bit of chance to figure it out.
Right.
So yeah.
All right, brother. Well, thank you so much. This is Enigma Media. Dude, I apologize. We should have done this a long ass time ago.
Oh,
I
it's no
I
worries.
don't even know how to pronounce your name, bro.
My name is Jaziel.
Jaziel.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Norm Mathers with Enigma Media. This was Jaziel from Snakehealer. Go ahead, check them out. They're everywhere. They're on Facebook, Instagram, Bandcamp, wherever you can find music. Go and give them some love and support. And peace out.